just lately I've been talking to a journalist who's researching direct action everywhere. He's writing an article about it. And I said to him, look, man, the story here is the money, period. The story is, where does the money come from? Where does the money go? And who controls it? And wow, they managed to ride this hypocrite thing all the way out, because the most recent financial reports we've got, over 800,000 US dollars. Who is giving that money? And what do they think it's going to? But above all else, let's remember this. Direct Action Everywhere promised that they would be different from all the other organizations that came before. They'd be different from People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. They'd be different from Humane Society. They would be different because they were going to be the one and only organization that was devoted to social science research. And what do they do now? They do the lowest kind of headline chasing, press release baiting, attention getting stunts, publicity stunts. They take a teenage girl in a bikini and have her lie down on top of the frozen meat in a grocery store, and they put fake blood on her, and they stand around and chant wearing masks and holding signs. Do you think they did social science research to back up that method? Do you think they did social science research into the effectiveness of any of the methods of these stunts, these demonstrations they do, these protests?
I mean, really, people like to disrespect my crew, but the fact is that you know my name and I don't know you.
There was an old-fashioned saying that the media should hold up the mirror to society. You know, the newspapers hold up a mirror and you behold your reflection in it. And you know, what we do here on YouTube, in some ways it's a sort of distorted funhouse mirror, but in some ways social media now serves that purpose. YouTube provides us with a very interesting metric, a measurement of activity, a measurement of public interest. I'm going to contrast for you right now two very different numbers. 800,000 and 270. 800,000 US dollars. 270 views on YouTube. Doesn't it seem a little bit fishy to you? Doesn't it seem a little bit strange that a group that manages to consistently propel itself into newspaper headlines, a group with an astronomical annual budget, with $800,000 in donations coming in just 1 year, and this is reported formally in basically tax information to the American government, by the way. This isn't just some rumor on the internet. They got 800,000. Isn't it astounding that they have fewer views on a video talking about vegan activism than I do? I have a lot of experience uploading videos talking about different issues in veganism, but I blow away Direct Action Everywhere's numbers on talking about some really obscure topics. And I managed to get several thousand views talking about Brianna Jack Fruitson ceasing to be vegan. I mean, I've made videos from, straight up book reviews, political science discussions, philosophy. I have experience with the whole range. And Direct Action Everywhere, they're really putting some money and effort into these film productions. I can't tell you that the quality of their filmmaking has gotten worse and worse. I think over the years it's gotten better and better. But the audience has dwindled. Right? That's a little bit strange. That's a little bit fishy to me. All right, it raises questions about what was supposed to be their founding mandate, which was to study social science research, find out what was effective activism and what was not. Evidently, what they're doing in a very real sense is not effective. They're putting out a message that people do not want to hear. So one particular example here. This is a 44-minute video. DxE responds to Vice's documentary about DxE. So you don't know Vice. Vice at this point can be called a mainstream media outlet. They're not quite as mainstream as CBS or NBC. They started as a magazine. They have a YouTube channel. They're carried on HBO on broadcast television. Vice is a mass market, big audience outlet, and they made a documentary on Direct Action Everywhere, on DxE. And here's a video they're making on their own channel that's linked directly to that mass media coverage. And 1 month later, there are only 573 views on that video. Now, I just say again, I'm very experienced with YouTube. When you have a video that is 44 minutes long, if one person watches it seriously, they watch the whole thing, they're going to count as 3 or 4 views because they watch it and then they stop and go to the bathroom and come back the next day and reopen it again. It's not really measuring views, it's measuring viewings. So the same person ends up clicking on the video repeatedly when you have a video that long. These are really small numbers. These are worryingly small numbers for an organization that, again, gets into the front pages of newspapers from time to time. It has a huge budget. And they claim they have thousands and thousands of volunteers all around the world. Now, today it's very, very hard to get a number from them. They'd always dodge the question of that. If you ask them, well, how many volunteers do you have? They'll say like, well, everyone who gives a thumbs up to our Facebook group is a volunteer. Everyone who supports us in spirit is a volunteer. Come on, how many people are you actually organizing in these protests? I don't know. Probably they don't know. But this is ostensibly tens of thousands of people organized under the leadership of Wayne Seong with Direct Action Everywhere. And none of them seem to be interested in hearing what Wayne Seong has to say. None of them seem to be interested in listening to their own leader's message. That's worrying. That's a warning sign. Again, this is just YouTube being a mirror you can hold up to this phenomenon. It leads us to scrutinize and question what's really going on here. So, and again, let's be clear. I have neither a false humility about this nor am I on some kind of ego trip. If I upload a video talking about Aristotle and it has 1,500 views, believe me, I'm happy. Hey, wow, I managed to get 1,500 people to listen to me tell you my opinion about the philosophy of Aristotle, Socrates. If I upload a video about Socrates and Plato and it has 500 views, fabulous. I'm doing absolutely nothing to cater to a mainstream audience. I'm not offering any special effects or drama. These are kind of philosophical videos for a small number of people who are sincerely interested in them. All right. Here is a video Direct Action Everywhere uploaded 8 months ago titled 58 Activists Arrested Rescuing Chickens. And it's 2 hours long. So again, when you have a video that long, if anyone's watching it seriously, they'll count as many views. When you have 58 activists involved in that event, each one of those activists has friends and family who would be interested in the video, right? Oh, my sister got arrested going to this thing. Oh, I want to see what happened, all right? Just whatever, friends from high school, connections in your own social media, casual acquaintances who are connected to those 58 people, and more than 58 people were there, I think, they will all click on the video and show some interest. Doesn't it seem peculiar to you that only 1,300 people clicked on this video for this event? And again, it's an event that, these are ambulance chasers. I don't know if you guys know that old slang term. They court controversy. They pursue controversy. They try to force their way into headlines to get shameless self-promotion. But with all that shameless self-promotion having been noted, nobody cares. Nobody wants to watch this. Nobody wants to watch this, even compared to me talking about Socrates or Aristotle, even compared to me, some of my videos complaining about minor ironies and kind of interesting little controversies within vegan activism as a movement, right? So why is that? That raises questions. And again, we can just ask hypothetically whether you regard, what I do here on YouTube as a success or a failure. It's kind of irrelevant to this question. How many viewers do you think would be looking at my content if I had a budget of $800,000? And if I had organized under my leadership, remember, these people live in a compound. They literally have a series of houses where they live like a cult, or at best like a kind of hippie commune. They live together. But if I had just 1,000 people organized under my leadership, wouldn't it make sense for these videos to have more than 1,000 views? If more than 1,000 people regard me as their leader, wouldn't at least 1,000 people be clicking on the lectures I'm giving? No. All right. So it's a really interesting, really quizzical situation. So here on screen, you see a selection of their most recent videos. Again, I'm not going to insult them. I don't think this is complete garbage. All right. More than half of these videos, I think, are complete garbage. Some of these are okay. Some of them are informative. Some of them they put a lot of work into. If anything, over the years, they've really been making an effort to improve their craft as filmmakers and doing outreach and communication. But they have failed. And this failure is itself very interesting because there are numerous YouTubers doing the same kind of infotainment for veganism without getting themselves thrown in prison, without doing disruption, without doing illegal forms of activism, who became massively successful, reached huge audiences with absolutely zero budget, without having $800,000 behind them. Right? So there are some important questions to be asked. Now, this is the 33rd video I've made on this channel about direct action everywhere. Just lately, I've been talking to a journalist who's researching direct action everywhere. He's writing an article about it. And I said to him, look, man, the story here is the money, period. The story is, where does the money come from? Where does the money go? And who controls it, period. That is the story about DxE. There is no other story here that's worth talking about. What is DxE? If this journalist were to ask me, what is DxE? Why does it matter? My answer is DxE today is the diametric opposite of everything it promised to be when it was founded just a few years ago. DxE today is a parody of the virtues it formerly preached. Does this ring any bells for you guys? Do you remember this? Quote, DxE is a completely horizontal network of activists, not even an organization. Would I talk to their members and ask them questions, say, oh, well, how are you guys organized? They'd say, oh, no, we're not an organization. It's completely horizontal. There are no leaders. There are no followers. Fully horizontal network of equal activists in chapters. No leaders. Do you remember that? Do you remember Direct Action Everywhere boasting that they do no fundraising, that they don't want money? They even said that in the debate with Gary Francione. Some of you guys who are really into vegan activism will remember that. There's a cultural reference for you. Gary Francione debating with them, and Wayne Seong said, no, we don't want any donations. We do no fundraising. And Gary said back to him, come on, Wayne, we all know you're lying. I've been to your website, and there's a big button you can click on that says donate now, click here. So even back then, this contradiction was there. And wow, they managed to ride this hypocrite thing all the way out, because the most recent financial reports we've got, over $800,000 US. Who is giving that money? And what do they think it's going to? You know? Anyway, the official excuse or explanation from Wayne is that this is going to actually house and feed the animals that they've rescued. Takes a really brief Google search to shed some doubt on that claim. There's been a long, storied history of the people who run the animal shelters complaining about DxE. You rescue these animals, you just dump them here, you don't pay for them, you don't take care of them. There are huge financial burdens involved. I have inside information. I've spoken to one of those people who runs one of those sanctuaries. This has been a huge issue. Now that they've got $800,000 to burn, I don't know what percentage of the money is actually going to house and care for cows. And for the donors, is that what you think you're doing it for? But look, there was a time, I know you guys who watch my channel will remember this promise. There was a time when they promised no one has ever been arrested at one of their days of action. Do you guys remember that promise? That they weren't about anyone getting arrested? I've played that clip over and over again on this channel, right? If you just add up the different promises, the things that defined them, it becomes clear the core definition of what this organization is, and is supposed to be. It's been turned inside out. It's been turned upside down on its head. But above all else, let's remember this. Direct Action Everywhere promised that they would be different from all the other organizations that came before. They'd be different from People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. They'd be different from Humane Society. They would be different because they were going to be the one and only organization that was devoted to social science research. It's been a long time since we heard those words from Wayne Xiong, right? Social science research, that the actions they engaged in, the strategic choices they made would be 100% based on learning the lessons of social science research. And what do they do now? They do the lowest kind of headline chasing, press release baiting, attention getting stunts, publicity stunts. They take a teenage girl in a bikini and have her lie down on top of the frozen meat in a grocery store, and they put fake blood on her, and they stand around and chant wearing masks and holding signs. Do you think they did social science research to back up that method? Do you think they did social science research into the effectiveness of any of the methods of these stunts, these demonstrations they do, these protests? Do you think they're doing social science research right now into why it is that they have thousands or tens of thousands of members and a budget of over $800,000 US, but they can't get the number of viewers I get with 0 followers, 0 members, 0 organization, 0 budget, when they put up a lecture talking about veganism, talking about vegan politics, and this kind of thing, all right? That is mind-blowing. And here's the final irony from my perspective. I got into this game with veganism with none of the pretensions and none of the megalomania of Wayne Xiong and Direct Action Everywhere. None. But you know what, ironically? We, right now, you and me, viewer, the viewers of à-bas-le-ciel, we're living up to the original dream of Direct Action Everywhere much more than they are. You and I right now are in a fully horizontal, decentralized network of activists. There are no leaders and no followers here. None of you are donating money towards me. Okay, $1 a month on Patreon if you if you want. What's the total budget there now? Like $200 or something? Few people donate money for the channel, okay? We're living up to that dream. And I'm out here. I'm sincerely interested in social science research. I'm sincerely interested in the difference between what is effective activism and what is not, instead of selling you a dogmatic dream that if you will just obey, if you will obey, if you will follow orders and get yourself put in prison, that will bring about the vegan utopia in the future. All right? Wayne Xiong and Direct Action Everywhere, you have become a parody. You have become the sick inversion of everything you once preached and everything you once aspired to. Where are these people going to be 10 years from now? Everybody grows up. I see that red-haired young woman who was still a university girl. She was a teenager when she got started with Direct Action Everywhere. She's moved up in the ranks. I see her now sitting next to Wayne Xiong as if she's kind of number 2 in there. Maybe she's replaced Priya, and she makes better YouTube videos than most of them. I see people who started this just as teenagers. This is another girl who started when she was 14 or 15, started screaming at strangers in grocery stores. I've had clips of these things on my channel in the past. Okay, everybody grows up sometime. And you know what? Ironically, most of the people who were a part of Direct Action Everywhere 1.0, they've all moved on and quit. They've all gotten straight. You can just Google their names. The people who were actually in the founding documents, who were in the original generation, kind of everyone except Wayne. Wayne and his girlfriend Priya have stuck around. They've all grown up and moved on. And you can write to those people on Facebook. I've talked to some of those people. The generation of original founders. Sooner or later, people wake up, grow up, and move on. And you know where Wayne's going to be? Wayne is going to be sitting on top of $800,000 US.